Thank you for being here, everyone. Tonight's presentation is about electric vehicles. This is Adam Crawford. Adam has taken over the outreach management, and he is sitting in Ellensburg, Washington right now, so that's awesome. This is, I think, our 65th speaker series topic. I'm not sure. And tonight's free will offering will go to First Christian Church of Puyallup. So I'm just going to hang on to that, and I'm going to pass it along to the next speaker in March, which will be the Puyallup Indian Tribe Historical Preservation Department. And so we'll pass that along to them and see, and Adam, you're welcome to come back for that. So thank you for being here, everyone. And I'm just going to hand it over to Adam, and we will learn all the things we need to learn about electric vehicles.
All right, let's see here. All right, so I assume you can see my screen. Thank you for the introduction, Robin. So we are going to talk mostly about electric vehicles, but also talk a little bit about renewable energy and energy efficiency, and we'll get there towards the end. But if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to let me know, or if you want to hold on to it until the end, we'll leave some time for that. So a little bit of background. Again, my name is Adam Crawford. I am the outreach manager for Kittitas County, Snoqualmie, and North Bend, and I've worked for PSE on and off since 2007. So my first job was an intern from Central Washington University, working out at our Renewable Energy Center in Ellensburg, which is a visitor center in the middle of a wind farm. And so that picture that you see right here is a picture of my wife and I. She also works for PSE out at Wild Horse. And this was during a photo shoot for Popular Mechanics, but it gives you a good idea for the scale of one of those wind turbines. And I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. We also own a used Nissan Leaf. And so I have a little bit of experience with electric vehicles. And so I'll be able to share some of my stories with you guys today.
That is an awesome photo.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. They had a professional drone pilot come up in November, and the clouds had just broke, and it had stopped snowing for them to get up there and take that photo. So I like to show that one off. So here at PSE, safety is of the utmost importance. And so we always start off our meetings or presentations with a safety moment. I don't know if you guys are aware, but we had like a record 10-year snow in Ellensburg or Kittitas County earlier last month. And so we had close to 2 feet at our house over one night, which is incredible. But with that brought ice, and my wife had actually parked our electric car in our driveway, and she was probably like 3 or 4 feet off of the garage. But when we woke up in the morning, we have just this tiny dip in our driveway, but it was enough that the car had slid on the ice and came within an inch and a half of crashing into our garage door. So the safety moment here is when you're in any type of weather and you're parking your vehicle on snow or ice, just make sure you're not parking it close. You're not parking on any location that has, a hill or any type of dip to it. All right, a little bit about PSE. We serve natural gas and electricity to 1.2 million electric customers and 900,000 natural gas customers. That's from the Canadian border all the way up in Whatcom County down to Thurston and Lewis counties, and then over here to my territory in Kittitas County. We also have a number of different power facilities throughout our service territory, and have about 3,100 employees. So that just gives you kind of an overview of our service territory, and then you can see the areas within Western Washington that have their own utilities. And so it's kind of like a checkerboard of different service providers. All right, now let's get into electric vehicles. So PSE has an up and go electric program. And so we're investing in electric vehicles and charging infrastructure throughout our region. And so with our Together initiative, we're working on plans to reduce our carbon footprint through the transition from coal. And part of that is through cleaning up transportation, both on the commercial and residential side. So there's a number of different pilots that PSE has done over the last 5 years or so. That includes the first one, which I think was 4 or 5 years ago, and that was installing level 2 chargers at 500 single family homes. And so we're really looking to gather data from those chargers to better inform us for what the future is going to look like. How often are these customers charging? When are they charging? And how long are they charging for? What's the house usage, and has it gone up? Has it gone up significantly? We're just taking that data to learn more about what it's going to look like when, you know, we have 100,000 electric vehicles coming into, you know, plugging in at the same time in the next 5 or 10 years. With that, we're also looking at multifamily properties. And so one of the speed bumps for customers that could be interested in electric vehicles, but let's say they live in an apartment, there's not any easy access to plug in their electric vehicles. We want to make sure that those customers have the same opportunity to purchase an electric vehicle. And so we've worked with 28 different multifamily properties throughout the area in order to install those level 2 chargers at those multifamily properties. And also we'll learn about the usage from those chargers. With that, we've also installed 26 workplace chargers. Now, this one is close to home for my wife and I, because one of the reasons we looked at buying an electric vehicle is because she has a 40-mile round trip drive every day. And she has the opportunity to charge at work, which makes it really nice for her to just plug in for the 8-hour workday, get a full charge, and then head back home. And so part of those workplace installs is gathering that data to figure out what that usage is going to be, and how to kind of forecast out for how much power is going to be consumed during those workplace hours. We also have 3 public charging stations that have been installed. And so there's one in Bellingham, one in Lacey, and one in Kent. And PSE is in the process of installing more of those over the next couple of years. But the neat thing about those chargers is they tie into our green power program, which is one of our renewable programs that offsets any load that's being consumed at that charger with renewable energy from a third-party source. Finally, we're working with different organizations throughout our service territory to bring electric mobility to low-income and disadvantaged communities. So for me locally here in Kittitas, we've worked with an organization called Hope Source to help them install a level 2 electric vehicle charger, as well as purchase an EV. So it not only will save them money in the long term, but they're also don't have any emissions coming from their vehicles as they drive around town.
Adam, can I ask real quick, what's the difference between whatever that was called, the FE2 or whatever it was, and like plugging it into an L2 and plugging it into your garage?
Sure. So we don't have a level 2 at our house. We just have your regular plug-in. So 110. It's just the amount of charge that you can get over a certain amount of time. And so it takes all night for us to get, let's say, 60 to 80% of our vehicle charged, where if we had a level 2, it'd cut that, in half or in a quarter, depending on what type of vehicle you have. And so the level 2 just allows you to charge a lot quicker versus your regular plug-in. They also make superchargers or level 3 chargers. We don't have any of those as part of our pilot projects, but that allows you to charge your vehicle extremely fast, anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how much charge you need. All right, so PSE also has we call it the TEP, but it's a transportation electrification plan. And so that's a 5-year strategic framework for electric vehicle products and services. So this allows us to establish a roadmap for the acceleration of widespread transportation electrification. That's both on the residential side of things and the commercial side of things. It's going to help us drive the transition to a cleaner energy future, help us reduce our emissions, so beyond net zero. And then it will help us remove barriers related to equity and inclusion. Plus, we want to invest in infrastructure that will help us modernize the grid. And so, you think about it, and utilities essentially have been more or less the same over the last 100 years. And now you're getting into, it's moving at a lot quicker pace. And so you have coal fire facilities that are being retired. And at the same time, you're having all these renewable energy projects like Wild Horse and these large scale wind facilities that are coming online. And then you also have customers that are installing solar panels on their house. And so you have these small scale power production facilities. And so the industry is just changing so quickly. And then as you phase out your gas engines, or you have more and more people purchasing electric vehicles, and you're seeing the load start to go up on that side of things. So it's just, honestly, it's an exciting time to be in the utility industry, at least for a nerd like me. Goals and objectives of the TE plan. And so part of this is preparing for electricity as a transportation fuel of the future. And so both on the residential and commercial side of things, establishing a transportation electrification roadmap. I know one of the things we were nervous about as we were looking at an electric vehicle is the one that we purchased has very limited range. It's only about 100 miles on the best day. And so how would we be able to take it over the mountain pass to Seattle? Or is that even something that we wanted to do, because we also have a gas engine? And so making sure that we have enough of these charging stations throughout the Northwest that you don't have to plan it out as much. I'm not saying we're going to get to where it's like a gas station on every street corner, but making sure that people feel more comfortable with any electric vehicle when they're coming from, a gas vehicle where you do have gas stations all over the place. We wanted to address our 4 overachieving goals. And so those are supporting the market transformation, addressing charging infrastructure gaps, plan and manage electric loads, and further our energy equity and inclusion. And finally, increase interest in fleet electrification. And so that could be school buses, that could be garbage trucks, that could be semis. And so there's a number of questions that are still yet to be answered, but every year the industry is growing and you're seeing more and more of these electric vehicles coming onto the market. So why go electric? I know Robin has an electric vehicle and has for a little while. This will help better explain, some of the reasons why you might want to go electric for your next vehicle. And so there's already 1.7 million electric vehicles on the road, over 60,000 of those in Washington state. And so one, it helps you save money. And we'll get into some of those cost comparisons in a little bit, but one of the main factors besides my wife being able to charge at work was she did all the math. So she loves doing research. She got a comparison between the truck that we have and what was our next purchase going to be? What made sense for us budget wise? What kind of mileage were we looking at, and what do we want to pay for, you know, your updated maintenance costs? And it wasn't even close. Purchasing the electric vehicle and looking at your operational cost, it was just a lot less than it would be for a gas engine. They're better for the environment because they don't create any tailpipe emissions, and they are fun to drive. And so I consider myself a car guy. We have, I hate to say it, but we have 4 vehicles here. One of them is an old Volkswagen bus that I would love to convert to an electric vehicle sometime in the next 10 years or so. But anytime that we go out, we're putting around town, I always grab the electric vehicle because it's so easy to drive, and it's really fun to drive. And so you have an electric motor, so you have instant torque, it accelerates really quick, and then you have all those batteries that are down in the bottom of the vehicle, and so you have a low center of gravity, which in turn makes it handle a lot better than it would if it was an electric vehicle. So PSE also has these up and go webinars, and so we do presentations and outreach like we're doing right now, but we also host these webinars, and so we invite any potential customers that are interested in electric vehicles, or even customers that already have one, to these webinars to inform them about the different programs and rebates that are available, both with energy efficiency and electric vehicles. So we have one that's coming up on Wednesday, February 23rd. And so maybe if there's any folks that wanted to be at this meeting and couldn't make it, these webinars are essentially what we're doing here, just on a bigger scale. All right, going electric is good for the planet. And so this is a great cost comparison, or a CO2 comparison between your regular 2020 gas engine at 4.4 tons. And then you have your electric vehicle at 2.2 tons. And then we get into the CO2 pollution per mile. Your regular gas engine is 439 grams. And then you have EVs in the USA at 157. And then at a third of that, you have EVs in Washington. And so I always say I love this state because there's so much to it, right? You have the coast, you have rainforest, and then you have these mountain passes, and then you get over to the high desert here in Ellensburg. There's just so much to offer, but we also have the Columbia River, which provides us with, there's a lot of dams, there's a lot of power that comes from that. And so that's where you're able to see that 51 grams of CO2 pollution for Washington state. Now, here is a breakdown of the Washington state power mix. This is going to be a little bit different than PSC's power mix. We're in the process of shutting down a couple coal facilities in Montana called Coal Strip. And so those are being phased out by 2025. And so you'll see more of a power mix compared to Washington state's, but that's one of the reasons that you have, the low CO2 pollution mix for Washington. Again, there's no tailpipe emissions, even when accounting for how their electricity is generated. EVs produce far less pollution than gas-powered cars. And then EVs powered by renewable energy sources like wind and solar are virtually emissions free. We'll get into that with this slide. And so PSE has a number of renewable programs. And so these programs are from net metering, where you have solar that's been installed on your roof. If that's not available for one reason or another, we have different programs that allow you to offset the load at your house through these renewable programs. And so Green Power was our first renewable program that started 20 years ago. And any investment into these programs from our customers goes back into these programs. So PSE doesn't actually make money off of these programs. With Green Power, we purchase power from third-party production facilities. So that could be wind, solar, biogas, or geothermal. It starts at $4 a month for 400 kilowatt hours of renewable energy. And so if you're eventually purchase an electric vehicle and then you want to take it a step further and offset the electrons or your load for that vehicle from renewable resources, you have that opportunity without installing solar panels on your roof. Carbon balance is another one. That's for our natural gas customers. We have Solar Choice, which is just like our Green Power, but it's just purchasing power from solar facilities in Washington and Oregon. And then we have net metering, which is customer connected solar. So if you have a house that's in a good location, no trees by it, it's facing the correct direction, then that could be a good location for installing solar panels on your roof. And a little bit more about those savings. This is one of my favorite slides because it shows, face to face your savings from switching to an EV. So a recent study from Consumer Reports found EV long-term ownership is $6,000 to $10,000 less than gas vehicles. You have your comparison again. Price to fill up $53 versus $3.60. That goes to show the range is closer to 500 miles for that gasoline engine and 149 miles for your Nissan Leaf. Depending on what EV you're looking at, you can have range from 100 miles if you buy a used Nissan Leaf like we did, or you could have 500 miles with the new EVs that are coming on the market this year. It all depends on what you can afford and what type of use you're going to need that vehicle for. For us, we do a lot of traveling. We like to go up into the hills and hike around. The Nissan Leaf can't get us there. And so we have one EV, and then we have our weekend rig that allows us to get further away. It all depends on your lifestyle. Yearly fuel cost at $1,600 versus $362. And then your cost to maintain over 5 years at 15,000 miles per year. And so you can see all the maintenance that's involved with your internal combustion engine. Of course, there's a lot of moving parts with that internal combustion engine versus a lot less of those with your electric vehicle. Just from experience, we purchased the truck and the Nissan within a year of each other. And we have put more miles on the truck than we have the electric car, but we've also had to spend a lot more money maintaining that truck versus the electric vehicle. So the only maintenance we've had to do on the Nissan Leaf was rotate the tires, and we're in need of a new 12-volt battery. That's it. Versus a truck where we just spent $400 fixing a piece of the turbo on the exhaust side of things. And then your choices for EVs are growing. This is a great website if you're looking at an electric vehicle. So it's ev.pse.com. It allows you to browse electric vehicles. And so this is updated fairly often. If you are looking at a new electric vehicle, this will allow you to pick out those vehicles and take a look at them side by side. So it depends on what range you're looking for, what's your price range, what kind of options are you looking for. So that's a really neat feature of this website. It also has incentives. So what are the federal rebates for an electric vehicle? What are the state rebates? Gives you up-to-date information on that because those change from year to year. It also has this map that we can see with all the different charging stations. So if you were going on a road trip, you wanted to plan out your route and where you're going to charge your vehicle, you can easily do that on this website. One of the hurdles for us purchasing an electric vehicle was only having that 100-mile range and having that, what we call range anxiety. Are we going to have enough juice to get there? And there's been a couple times in the middle of winter where we thought we had enough electricity, but it was getting too close for comfort. And so we would stop at a level 2 charger, plug it in for half an hour, watch a video, on our phones, and then we're good to go. And so this map will definitely help you find the best route for where you want to go. And then we'll get into just a little bit about energy efficiency because it all ties back together to reducing emissions. And so PSE offers a number of different programs, both on the commercial and residential side of things. Part of those programs is residential energy efficiency, and making your home more efficient is an investment in that home because in the long term, it helps save you money. It might sound weird coming from a guy that works from a utility saying use less electricity, but in the long run, it helps everybody because it keeps us from building new power plants. So the more electricity we can save, the less power plants we have to build. And so it's anywhere from insulation, windows, water heaters. There's just a number of different programs that PSE offers and rebates to help our customers in the long run save money and save electricity. Also, and I just had to put this slide in here. This is the Renewable Energy Center. So that's the visitor center out at Wild Horse. I don't know if anybody here has been to it, but if you're ever traveling through Eastern Washington, we are about 20 miles east of Ellensburg, right up on that ridge. And there is one of the only visitor centers in the US located up there in the middle of a wind farm. So PSE put this together and opened it back in 2007 and 2008. It's located right there in the middle of the wind farm. We're open 7 days a week from April through October, and we offer tours into the base of the turbine. So if you guys ever wanted to get together and put together a group tour where you travel over, we'd be happy to set all of that up. Also, if you're just driving through and want to get up close and personal with a wind turbine, this would be the place to come visit. And finally, are there any questions? And this is a picture that was from December, and it shows us on top of a wind turbine looking down at the visitor center. And you can't really see it, but if you look really hard, there's our electric vehicle charging off of renewable energy at a wind farm. So that's just thought I'd throw that in there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Awesome photos. I, of course, have questions or discussion points or something. So I'm one of those people that worries about my family lives in Bellingham. I'm like, I want to be able to get to Bellingham to visit family without stopping to charge. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my thing, but also talking about the difference, the advantages, disadvantages between a hybrid and an all electric. My husband's viewpoint is if you have a hybrid, my viewpoint is if you have a hybrid that I have both, if I can't make it all the way, I don't need to charge, I can turn over to gas. His thought is, but then I have two separate systems to maintain. And it gets a lot more complicated because you've got to maintain two systems. So those aren't really questions, but kind of discussion points. Ready, go.
Yeah. Robin, I see your hand up.
Well, I have a comment about that because I don't think it's like if you have a hybrid, you're only in hybrid mode or, electric mode if you're going like 15 miles an hour or less or, at a stop, right? So it's not like you turn on electric, although I think maybe they have those now, but you don't have like electric and then you switch back to gas.
I think you do have electric and then you switch back to gas. So you go electric until you're at the end of your range and then you
No.
switch to gas.
Tom has a hybrid truck and it's only in the battery mode when he's starting and then or it's at a stop. So I'm not sure, but Adam, weigh in on that.
And so I know from experience, the Chevy Volt had the hybrid electric vehicle and internal combustion engine. And so it was kind of a funky setup where it was powered by your electric motor, but you also had a gasoline engine that would kick in to not drive the wheels, but drive the electric motor to charge batteries, which in turn you could use that to power the vehicle, if that's not confusing. The benefit of that is you had your electric vehicle, and so you could use the battery pack for, don't quote me on this, but it was like 40 or 60 miles. And then once you ran out of juice there, you'd be able to use your internal combustion engine to charge that, which you can still drive around, but it's being charged off the gasoline.
I've owned a hybrid since 2006. And hybrids, what you're talking about, that last comment, is a plug-in hybrid.
Yep.
That's the only way you can get kind of the electric hybrid thing. Like, but most hybrids, it's gas and electric just kind of working in concert, and shutting off the engine when you don't need to, and it increases your gas mileage, but you rarely use just electric unless you're in a parking lot. So
good. I think we're on the same page now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Harry, you have your hand up?
I did. I was just gonna say, we have a 2017 Toyota Prius, and yeah, you can put it in electric mode, but you can't go over 25 miles per hour. However, if you're on the freeway going 60, 65, and it's like a downhill grade, you're all electric. If you're not going uphill and everything, it picks and chooses. And then I just had a comment, I guess, years ago, I watched the movie What Happened to the EV, the original electric vehicle. And it's interesting to me how that was such a great thing. What was that, in the 1980s or 90s or whatever, when that came out? And then it just went away, and then now it's back. And I think it's interesting. I like the direction we're going again. Just a comment.
What is the, isn't there legislation coming out by X year will all be electric? Isn't there something about that we're all going electric?
Yeah, I think I can't remember what year it was, but yeah, there's some legislation that's looking at making all new vehicle production electric vehicles.
I thought it was just sales of electric vehicles. So at some year, the governor wanted only new vehicles being sold would be electric vehicles, is what I heard. Now, whether it's legislation or a governor a dream, I don't know, but that's the goal.
It seems like that would bring the initial cost down. The sticker shock at the beginning is pretty hard.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this to Robin earlier, but with the EVs in the used car market, you're seeing more and more of those electric vehicles dropping down in price to where, we didn't want to look at buying a brand new electric vehicle because we simply couldn't afford it, but we could afford a 4-year-old Nissan Leaf. And so that's I think there's new opportunities that are rising with that used car market.
I would say that my car, and I'm not positive, but I think my car was about the same price as the car I had before. But also we have had it for over 2 years and we have done no maintenance at all. I'm sure my tires need rotating, but we haven't done that. I mean, and I have not been to a gas station since September 2019. So, you know, there's a lot of, I don't think that you have to spend a lot of money on a new one. But if you want to, there are plenty of options for spending quite a bit of money, but I don't think they're all that expensive. I didn't feel like I was really priced out, you know, or stretching myself getting a brand new car.
So when you go to a charging station, what is the cost? How much will it cost?
Yeah, so it is variable based on what charging station that you're using. And so there's different cost for using different chargers. I know from personal experience, it was a lot more expensive to charge it at a level 2 charger versus just plugging it in at home. And so my personal recommendation is if you do go with an electric vehicle, I would do most of my charging at home because it is more expensive per kilowatt hour to charge it at one of those level 2 chargers.
And it's still less than gas. I've only actually had to charge one set of public charging station, and we were just doing it for the fun of it. And we went to dinner and we plugged in because they had one, and we had the app and we were watching it go $1, $2, $3. And I was like, oh my gosh, by the end of this hour, it's gonna be really expensive. But then at $3, it stopped. Like that was their minimum. So then we charged for a whole hour. So for $3.
Wow.
So, I mean, I didn't feel like, you know, and we didn't need to charge. We were just doing it to see what would happen.
So all of those that you see like at the grocery store, in the mall, and IKEA that are, you know, next to the handicap front row, they all charge?
Yes.
Oh, I did not realize that.
There's usually an app, depending on who's like hosting it, or the company that is providing that, they have a fee, but it's pretty, I mean, I felt like it was nominal, but then I don't really have very much experience with it.
Adam,
So we bought our own level 2 charger. We have it in our garage, and you know, we had to spend a few hundred on that. But the speed with which we can charge is well worth it, you know. Otherwise, we were plugging into a regular outlet, and that still works. It just takes longer.
I just had a question about, my sister lives in Alaska and they've been plugging their gas cars in for years, obviously. What's the difference between plugging in to heat as opposed to plugging in to charge?
So with those are block heaters to make it easier to start those vehicles when it gets to be negative, whatever temperatures it is in Alaska. And so you'll see a lot of those on like diesels where it eases with having them starting the vehicle that next morning.
They were having a problem with chargers. I know that the red parking lot at the fairgrounds had chargers that someone stole something out of them, or I think 3 out of 4 they were stripped of copper or whatever it was that was in there that people steal. I was wondering if they've changed that, or if, you know, if that's still a problem.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Since I've been working this role the last 6 months, I haven't heard anything about theft from those electric vehicle chargers. So I'd be happy to look into that though.
That's been a while ago, so, you know,
Yeah,
maybe it's just a few hours.
we, at least with PSE, we haven't had any vandalism to the workplace, multifamily, and public chargers that we've installed that I'm aware of.
Does PSE, would you help a homeowner like come to their house and like build them as if they want to buy a vehicle to like put in the charger station for them, or do you have a program like that?
So yeah, we have a program called Recommended Energy Professionals. And that's essentially different companies that go through some PSE training in order to become recommended energy professionals. And then we have a website that's dedicated to making sure if our customers are interested in, let's say, like a solar installer, installing new installation or putting in an electric vehicle charger, they can go to those recommended energy professionals and get somebody that's recommended from PSE.
Thank you. Our house faces the wrong direction. We tried for solar, but we faced the wrong way.
Yeah, I know a couple people that have either too many trees around their house or it's facing the wrong direction.
I've been lucky. I've had solar panels since I built this house, and about 70% of my energy comes from my solar panels.
Wow.
That's great.
Of course, I'm clear on the west. I'm farther west than Ellensburg. I'm down in the Tri-City, so
Yeah,
I'm wide out open out here with lots of sunshine.
that's great. What? When did you install, Ray?
I was an early installer. I've had the house now 11 years, and I installed it the year after I built it. My system's getting kind of old. It's still working, but
Yeah.
it's getting old. I got all my money back out of it. I mean, everything that the state gave me pretty well paid for them, and now I'm getting plus all the use of the electricity. My bills are nil. I think electricity bill on average is about $25 a month. That's for the whole year, plus fees. We got $40 in minimum fees on top of that. But
Robin, there's another speaker series for us, solar panels, because I'm very interested in that too. Another question, I'm still mixed up between the hybrids and the electric. So my dream car, what I'm looking at is a plug-in electric hybrid. What does that mean?
That's what I was getting to earlier. I think I was a little confused with hybrid and plug-in hybrid. That was my experience with the Nissan or with the Chevy Volt. Is it was a plug-in hybrid where it had both your gas and electric motor. I honestly don't know what plug-in hybrids are available right now.
I tried to buy a RAV4 in a
Yep.
plug-in hybrid, and they were so popular. They were selling them for $5,000 above
Wow.
MSR at least. They're hard. The plug-in hybrids are hard to find. They're popular.
But is that a better option than a hybrid? Or is it still the same issues as a hybrid?
Well, you get a lot more. You get some of the benefits of an electric. I wanted one because on some they were estimating on some of them you could go 60 to 100 miles and before you have to even use gas.
Wow.
But it depends on the hybrid. The RAV4, I think they were touting it at around 50 to 75 miles before you have to get into the hybrid part of it. But like I said, it was just too hard to come by.
Well, the range on my car is roughly 225 miles per charge
Oh, that's nice.
on electric
That's great.
total. Yeah.
And what do you have, Robin?
I have the Kia Niro.
Yeah, some of the new vehicles that are coming on the market are, 200 miles, and you're getting ones that are all the way up to 500 miles, which, that's a long way to drive in a day, even with the internal combustion engine. And so
Yeah.
starting to think, what are you going to use that vehicle for? What is, what's going to be your average drive in it? And then you can take a look at, if you go see somebody in Portland, maybe there's a level 2 or level 3 charger that you can plug into for half an hour, watch, a Netflix show, get a coffee, and then you're on your way. So yeah, for you, Gretchen, I'd recommend taking a look at that cost comparison PSE site and just get an idea for what's out there, what the range is, and then what the cost is of that, and then compare that with your plugin.
Adam, what was that again? What was the site?
It's let's go back.
PSE.
Yeah, it's ev.pse.com.
ev.psc.com. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep. And if you just Google PSE EV, it'll take you to that.
I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but when I got mine, they had the federal tax. I don't know what, they didn't call it a rebate, but like incentive or something like that, which at that time it was $7,500 too. So that was kind of $7,500 off the top of the price, so that was very, very nice to receive.
Yeah, and you'll be able to see those incentives at this website too, what's available right now. I know for us, since we bought it used, we didn't have to pay sales tax on it, which was really nice. I bought other used vehicles, and it's always a not very good surprise when you see that extra couple $1,000 in taxes come in when you go to register it. Any other questions?
You don't happen to know, it's probably on the website and I'll look it up, but if any of the electric vehicles are full 4-wheel towable, like a Jeep, to tow behind an RV? Which is one of the reason I was looking at the plug-in hybrid, because it's towable.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. I know, at least for our car, I haven't tried towing it, but you can definitely get it into neutral. But yeah, sorry, that's a great question.
Any other questions? All right. Well, I want to thank you, Adam, for sharing all your knowledge, and at least what you didn't know, we can go to the website and find out and get some of those details. I want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to remind you that the free will offering from tonight will go to the church, which we will roll over into the next speaker series, which is next month, March 10th, which is the Puyallup Tribe of Indians Historical Preservation Department. And I'm very excited about that one. And if you want to donate for tonight, that will roll over to that. Our website is fccpuyallup.com/donate. And then you can just go to speaker series there. And so thank you, Adam. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone that came tonight. Danielle, hello to you in Indiana. And so we will see you next time, everybody. Thank you so much. Good night.
Nice
for having me.
Good to see you, Ray.
Good to see you, Ray.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Ray said hi too.
Bye.
Bye.